people that have restarted in a new city, what are your tips? Nobody knows you, so you can try to change some habits. I was too shy to talk to people and usually just waited for them to approach me, but when I moved I started talking to people first. It was hard, but I'm glad I tried. Changed my eating habits too. Think what kind of a person you want to be and just try it, see how close you can get. Think what kind of a person you want to be and just try it, see how close you can get. Love this. Also great advice for midlife crises. Just want to add another voice to this. I did not like the person I was after high school. I ended up going to college in a place completely the opposite of what I thought I was looking for. Started out looking for small schools up in the mountains, ended up at a huge city school. I only keep up with 2 friends from my hometown, and only occasionally. This is to say, I started the heck over. It is the best thing I have ever done. Don't get me wrong, parts of it sucks. Making friends is really hard, especially when you're trying to work out what your interests are. I attended counseling sessions to learn social skills and healthy relationships from scratch, because I did that so wrong in high school. I switched my major. I quit the clubs that high school me thought I would like and joined clubs that actually suit my interests. I actually exercise every day. I eat plant-based, with a little meat for health reasons. I am happier, in better shape, love my job and my classes. The hard part of this that still hasn't gotten easier for me occurs if you aren't completely cutting out your old life. My parents really struggled to adjust to a new person. At first, these clashes really got to me. Some of it's simple, like not respecting dietary choices. We got past that by letting me do my own cooking except for holiday meals. Some of it's much more complicated. I studied the same field as my parents did, but it took a while to get there. My father was very welcoming, my mother not so much. She really wanted me to have a life plan, and big changes like this, unexpected decisions like going to a big city in the first place, really rattle her confidence in me. It took me a while to be okay with her lack of acceptance, but you know what? They knew that old me for 18 years. Now I call once a week and I'm a different person. It may even feel like they're talking to a stranger sometimes. But you know what I love? I'm so far away that it doesn't get to matter. You will eventually build up a local support system. I have medical issues and I actually found a doctor that provides an emotional support nurse for difficult appointments. I joined the local fitness community and found a roommate I love. You move on because you get to decide your own identity. You get to make those choices. And I will say that making that decision to move once makes me 1000% more confident, even looking forward to doing it again after undergrad. It showed me that I can handle big change. Good luck, Op. The one thing that really surprised me was the fact that I didn't love the new city immediately. It was bigger than I was used to, more expensive, and the job had such higher expectations than my last, same exact job. It all took some getting used to, and that took longer than I thought it would. But I loved exploring little hills and out-of-the-way parks, and one day it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so in love with this new place, I couldn't imagine ever living anywhere else. Well, of course, now I do, but my love affair lasted a long time. But I think it's a place for younger people, a place to explore and find your way around the city and find yourself. Others have made some really good suggestions, but I think I had to be more comfortable with me before I could be comfortable in a new place. This is so true. When I moved to a city I'd been dreaming of living in years, I felt the same. It was so big, expensive, people seemed grumpy, and why did I ever want to live here? But I gave it time and now I like it. So much of moving is about having patience to sit through the rough transition period. To be fair, some places just aren't compatible with the lifestyle you want. I had trouble making friends in a very family-oriented town I basically hated, and when I moved to a bigger city with more people, I instantly made friends and found awesome stuff to do. Still love it 6 years later. Feel the same about NYC. It's overwhelming on the census the first month. But now I can't imagine not living here. I finally got a job and moved to NYC. 3 days before lockdown. The one thing that really surprised me was the fact that I didn't love the new city immediately. For some reason this reminds me of an opposite problem where I knew a few people who moved to another city to try to escape themselves. Each situation was different, but the basic playbook was that someone who was always bitching about how bad things sucked would visit a friend in another city and decide to move there. Then they wouldn't shut up about how awesome new city is compared to current city and they couldn't wait to move. Then they would move and come back to visit a few months later and rave about how awesome new city is and that we should all move there too because we are still in the sucky city. Then they would come back a year later and they would be bitching about their new city and all that was wrong with it. The reality was always that they were a miserable person who was trying to escape their inner problems with a superficial solution. To be fair, some places just aren't compatible with the lifestyle you want. For about 2 years, I got stuck in a military town that was very family-oriented. I hated it. Has trouble making friends, there wasn't a lot to do that I enjoyed doing there. I tried to make the best of it, but it was still hard. Moved to a bigger city I'd always loved and quality of life improved instantly. 6 years later, I have awesome friends, an amazing house, and there's so many amazing things to do here. Also, close to a couple other cool cities. Try to find some kind of social group that pertains to your interests. It's easier in college, that's what I did, and there were plenty to choose from. But there are often plenty of groups for non-students if you look around on social media for advertising and stuff. Things like volunteer work or local activist type groups can be easier options to look for. That's how I started making friends. Agreed. I moved to a new city last year and I had no friends. Then I entered in a taekwondo class and now I have some friends from there. I started climbing because the only person I knew in my new city was climbing. Now I have friends and I'm obsessed about climbing. One of us. Returning to monkey. He has ascended. I'm in my 4th country in 13-ish years. The younger you are, the easier it is, especially if you can find a community. I also don't have kids, so that's a huge blocker. Introduce her if you do. But basically, as above, find a group. Note almost all organized groups have more drama than you'd have thought possible, so choose wisely. I was about to vehemently disagree with you, until I remembered the specifics that happened at one of my meetups. It was a running group meetup. Literally just meet at this spot at 6 p.m, we'll start running 6 miles by 6:15 after some directions, be considerate and don't be late. I was part of this group for a good 7 years before COVID ruined life. In my time there, every single new girl would become a magnet to 2 to 5 guys who were obviously there for the sole purpose of trying to hook up. Fortunately, the 6-mile distance was a pretty good deterrence to keep randoms from just showing up to meet girls. The end result was that the girls learned to casually mention their boyfriend/fiancé/husband by their second attendance and then be left alone. Until one girl didn't mention a significant other. I was dating someone else at the time, so I suppose I didn't come off as desperate, and we ended up hitting it off and becoming good friends that talked almost the whole time. However, another guy that didn't get the hint she wasn't interested kept trying to butt in our conversations, kept making advances, etc. Eventually he started challenging me to race during the runs to try and impress her, I guess. Fortunately, she was only in town for the summer, and when she left, he went around the group asking if any of us had her number because he lost it. Shortly after that, he stopped coming altogether for several months. Yeah, drama is very common. I found that with my running club in my old town. It was run by several guys in their 50s who were far too keen on the younger women who joined, and completely ignored any guys who wanted to join. I found it creepy and unpleasant, so heavens know what the women found it. Eventually he started challenging me to race during the runs to try and impress her, I guess. Bruh, this is literally one of those that one annoying athletic kid in school meme but grown up. Yup. I thought I was done with that BS after sophomore year P. Everyone on my cross-country and distance track team was far more grounded because we knew our own abilities and limitations, so we, yes, I include 16-year-old horny me in that group, knew not to try and impress the girls' team because they would see how good we actually were at races once the season started. But yeah, seeing a mid-20s guy try to preen in front of someone in the middle of her residency looks really bad. So we, yes, I include 16-year-old horny me in that group, knew not to try and impress the girls' team because they would see how good we actually were at races once the season started. Reminds me of my daughter. She ran track and they would often run the 3,200 co-ed at the very end of the meet to save time. One particular boy was very attracted to her and made a few comments to her. She beat his time during the race and he came up to her and assured her he could have easily beat her if he hadn't also run the 800 that day. She told him that's weird because she ran the 800, 1600, and the 4x400 relay taking first in all of them, so she doubted that was the problem. I didn't hear the conversation because they were on the track, but I could see and feel the burn all the way from the bleachers. The laughter from the couple of guys who heard the conversation was also really clear. That's some serious Prefontaine energy. Yeah, we had a girl who frequently lapped some guys in the 3200. Absolutely no one in the team dared mess with her, and the rest of us, that got lapped, would make sure no one in the opposite team dared talk crap about her. She was a senior when I was a freshman, so the entire time she might as well have been a legend or a demigoddess to the rest of us. Yep, I moved to a new country, twice, and both times the key has been to join social groups. The first time I moved I was still in college, so I joined a student program for internationals that I ended up being a local guide for later on for a while, and the second time I had colleagues who were a bit of a drinking group at the local pub. It's not really important how you put yourself out there, as long as you do. A big thing people forget about moving to a new place, if they haven't done it before, is that you have just entirely removed yourself from your safety net, socially speaking. Even if before you weren't very social, you probably still had a handful of friends that filled your life. Now you have nothing. There's a big gap between that, and you will notice it in your mental health if you don't get something to replace it. Yeah, and don't stress too much about it. Just pick something vaguely interesting that involves engaging with other residents and go to it. That's where you'll get the inside scoop. Like, I'm not into birding but went to an event and those people definitely knew the good hikes in the area, and where to find other kayakers. Yep. And one of the most important ingredients to making friends is consistency. It's why we're able to make friends more easily in school or at work. When you find a group you like, try to see them regularly and as often as you can. You and other regulars will start developing a rapport, and that's how friendships form. Meetup.com has lots of social interest groups and activities you can use to meet people and make friends. Edit. Apparently, Meetup has changed in YMMV. Valid advice, back when Meetup didn't turn into almost completely virtual meetups after COVID. Emo Meetup is incredibly difficult to use because many groups require donations, and with COVID going on, virtual meetings are all that can be done. As someone who has tried starting a group and been in one, it is kind of a ripoff. I moved at the beginning of the pandemic and joined 3 groups. 2 are now defunct. I had no idea some groups charged. But without my core group and our weekly Zoom happy hour, I would have lost my mind. 3 of us formed a bubble and will go out for a drink occasionally or go hiking. These are amazing people I would never have met otherwise. I got really lucky. Trivia bars. Or activity night style bars. As much as you might hate it, some of them will be like, hey, we need a team over here. Any individuals? And help you guys join, almost like a project in school. Keep coming back to the bars and you'll make friends either with the team trivia members, or the people who host it / bartenders. Find places you like and return to it, and eventually you'll meet regulars there who will recognize you. It's going to take a bit of time. I'd add rec sports. Leagues usually allow for free agents to sign up. This is how I made nearly all my friends. I joined a few rec leagues that are geared towards meeting new people and have social aspects after the games, like going to a bar. Did them for years. Met my fiancé through a dodgeball league. But doesn't this require you to have actual physical abilities? Some more so than others. A lot of rec leagues are full of people who just play because it's fun, and don't stress much about winning if they're having fun. They want to be active while doing something more engaging than just working out. It depends on the team though. Obviously some have more competitive people. It's easy enough to say, I haven't played this very much / at all / in a long time, so I'll try my best, but I can't promise anything. I think you'll find most people are understanding. After all, we all start somewhere. And, this is the way you become in good physical shape. How do rec leagues work? How do you find ones to join? See if your city has a parks and rec department. Also, if you play a specific sport, just Google it. I found an adult baseball league a few years back that was reasonably priced where I lived at the time and got to play baseball again. They had a tryout day about a month before the season started, and then the teams were able to draft the free agents who attended. It always seemed to me like if you're not going pro, once you graduate high school you're stuck with beer league softball, but many big cities have adult leagues. Beer league softball is the way. Is a trivia bar the American version of a pub quiz? Yes, a lot of bars in the US, at least where I have lived, designate one night a week as trivia night. I knew of one bar that had a trivia game every night of the week if there were enough teams or contestants who were interested. I've usually heard those called trivia night in Canada/the States, but they are the same thing as the pub quiz. But then you are friends with people that frequent trivia bars. I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me as a member. I went to DEF CON a few years ago and had a blast, thinking all the time these are my people, JFC. LMFAO, this was my thought too, skull. Hold on. What's wrong with people that frequent trivia bars? Maybe it's different in Scandinavia, where I live, but hey, it's a bar, and you get to quiz. It's great. Oh yeah, people who make names like the Naughty Hose and think it's funny. I don't want to associate with know-it-alls that think puns are funny. A Redditor. What's a bar? Asking for a friend. Something you walk into so that they can turn it into a joke. Don't try to change the city you now live in into the city you just left. This should be number 1. That's everyone who leaves California laughing my butt off. I'm guessing the main reason most people leave California is due to financial issues, not social issues. That's most likely why they bring their ideals to wherever is cheaper to live. I'm from a small town but thinking of moving to a city in the future. Could you elaborate on that? Really hard for me to imagine what you mean. It like a Californian looking for the best street tacos in NYC. Just embrace pizza as the new go-to and find a few places that might scratch your itch for tacos. But don't walk around yelling, tacos here suck. Dear God, that's like every damn New Yorker that moved to my city and it's in PA. Stop complaining about our pizza, drive a few hours and get your beloved pizza then. Or complain about our bagels. This. As someone who lives in Southwest Florida and currently have tons of people from New York moving here permanently, please leave your attitudes there and stop complaining about how you feel New York everything is so much better. If you really felt that way, then you should have stayed there. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.